Hello, everyone. My name is Robbie, and today we are going to look at mixed conditionals again. And continue on the topic, and I have also not shown everything very clearly in the previous stream, for which I truly apologize. And I hope that today is going that today I'm going to explain the topic a little bit better. And without any further ado, let's dive into the material. All right. So, as I said earlier, our today's topic is mixed conditionals, and as we can see, we have six of them. So basically, past condition. So basically, with a past condition and a present result, a present result in a past condition, a present condition in the past result, a present condition in the future result, a past condition in the future result, a future condition in the present result, and a future condition with the past result. Moving on. So, like I said in the previous video, uh, the first we're going to look into is the past condition with a present result. So it is constructed with an if. Then follows the subject, then the past perfect verb form, the auxiliary verb would, the base verb, and then the base verb in a present participle, or a present participle, that is. It is used to indicate a hypothetical change in the past situation with results in the present. For example, if I hadn't gone to school that day, I wouldn't be down with the flu. So basically, that means the speaker is sick with the flu, and the speaker at least the speaker thinks that they have got the flu in school at during one one day, and that day was the day they got the flu. So they think I shouldn't have gone to school that day. Otherwise, I wouldn't. It's, it's because of that I have the flu. And another example on the screen here is if I had gone on a trip with my friends, I wouldn't be able to pay my bills this month. So, in this case, the speaker had some extra money to cover their bills, but they had a trip planned with their friends. But money was tight and they had to pass up on that offer, and it paid off now they still have because now they at least are enjoying a warm home and and a cold fridge. Moving on to the next example, next example, which is a very popular sentence among teachers, which is you would know the answer if you had listened to me. So basically, the student didn't listen during lessons, and now they don't know the answer, and the teacher is using their chance to chastise them for it. Classic. And our next example, if Tim had been laid off, he would be begging me for money now. So usually, so we have a usual situation where Tim Tim is begging the speaker for money whenever it's low. So and so and Tim was under the risk of being laid off, but he wasn't laid off. So he still has money, and because Tim has money, they do not need to go to the speaker to ask for that money. I hope this has been clear enough because we are moving on. So now we have the present condition and a past result. Again, it's constructed by the if. It is followed by the subject, the verb in past simple, the auxiliary verbs would and have, and the past participle. It is used to denote that a difference in the present situation would also mean a difference in the past. So, for example, if John had some money left, he would have had a healthy back. So this means that John is suffering from back issues, and doctor and an appropriate physician for the issue costs money, or maybe even a surgeon, or whatever he needs for his back. But John cannot afford that, so he has to suffer from a bad back. And John could not afford that. If you came to work earlier, you wouldn't have missed so many meetings. So so we have a recurring situation where a listener is coming into work late, and there were some meetings that were mandatory to visit, I suppose, or maybe not, maybe they were important, and they are left without any clue on what has been discussed in those meetings, so they're asking the speaker about that, and the speaker takes the chance to chastise them. If you came to work earlier, you wouldn't have missed so many meetings because some meetings are important. And again, and a situation we might be familiar for the most part. If the eggs weren't bad, I wouldn't have gotten sick. Meaning, I'm sorry, meaning that the speaker ate some eggs and got sick. So naturally, they assume that, at least it's an assumption, not true fact, but let's say for the sake of education that it's true fact. So he still has some of those eggs left. They cooked themselves. I mean, they cooked themselves a nice meal out of those eggs, but alas, the eggs were bad and they got sick. And they just lay in bed feeling awful, thinking, if those eggs weren't bad, I wouldn't have gotten sick. Moving on. Now we have a present condition with a future result, which is constructed by if, followed by the subject, followed by a past simple construction, by the auxiliary verbs would and have, the base verb along with the base verb in the present participle. It's used in situations where present actions may lead to future results. Meaning, if I said, if I were you, I would be leaving that job instantly. So I'm not in your shoes. If I, meaning that if I were in your shoes, I would, I would, and if I had that toxic job you have, if I was living in that toxic job environment, I would, I would be leaving that environment and move somewhere nicer. And it is useful to know that those are hypothetical situations we are talking about, and those are unlikely to happen, if likely at all, if possible even. Uh, for ex- and another example, mom would hate our neighbors if she lived here. So we're dealing with annoying neighbors in this situation, and we have a mother who cannot stand such people. And even though it's unlikely she would move in that house we have right now, she would find those people unlikable, if that makes sense. Another example in this slide is if Tim worked in the sales department, he would have better pay. So what we're having in this situation is that Tim is working in another department with worse pay. However, for some reason, he's not getting transferred to the sales department, and now we're just thinking of this hypothetical situation. Damn, if only he would go and work in the sales department, he would be paid better. Unlike now, where he's paid less than he deserves. And for the final example of this mixed conditional construction is an ancient, well, not exactly ancient. It's a classic proverb which says, "If wishes were horses, beggars would ride." So, even though a wish is an abstract, so a wish is an abstract thing that cannot become a concrete, tangible thing like a horse, even a horse, which is a living being you ride on. And you ride, you get with the horse from one place to another. And even though you wish for a horse real bad, that wish would not become a reality if you're a mere beggar who lives off of a measly sum some given by some compassionate fellows. And even though you wish you had a horse, you cannot afford one. So this is another unlikely situation that might never occur moving forward. So now we have a past. We are approaching the past, and this is our final mixed conditional of the day. And we have a past condition with a future result, and it's constructed by if. Then it's followed by the subject. Then the auxiliary verb had with the past participle verb form, the would, the auxiliary verb would, and then we add the base verb or the present participle form and a future time marker. It's used in situations where a past condition may lead to future result. Future results. So what we are saying here is a is something is that if I did not do that, you would be doing this. You would have you would do this. You would have done this. So what we're saying is that we are what we're saying is this. For example, if I had not come, you would have abandoned the task in a few minutes. So basically, we assume the role of a manager here, and the manager is dealing with some very procrastinating employees and under his supervision, if we can say that. And the manager came in and And oh, good, oh, goody, the people were working. Unlike when he wouldn't have come into the office, those employees were working, and they would have abandoned the task in a few minutes if he wouldn't have come in. Hence the sentence. Another example is Joan would be stuck in her position for a few more years if she had not published her book. So we have an aspiring writer, Joan, and she works a day job basically, and she's saving money. And let's say our situation is deeper than that, and she's saving money for something, and she dabbles. Well, not exactly dabbles. She is an aspiring writer, and she has a stable job, stable income, but she publishes her book, and she earns money from that. And even though her job pays well, she doesn't really like it. But to get where to get to the point where she is now, she would have had to work for a few more years at her previous job. Now she's a, but now she's a full-time writer. Let's applaud Joan. And our final example for today is if Tony had sold his car, he wouldn't promise to buy you new shoes after he gets paid. So we have a listener. Let's say it's Tony's girlfriend, who, well, has done something nice to him, or it's her birthday, but Tony did not get paid enough until a point where Tony figured out he can use his car to make money. So if Tony had sold his car, he wouldn't promise to buy you new shoes after he gets paid. So our listener, our girlfriend, is having a problem with old shoes. Well, it's up to you to decide how old are they. Either they're so old that her feet are coming through the soles, or she just wants nicer shoes because the ones she has now look, well, they're not pretty. And Tony, our friend Tony, has a car, and from what we can infer in that sense is that Tony uses his car as a tool, basically as something he either goes to work with, or which is the most likely possibility in this case, that the car he works with the car. Maybe he's a taxi driver. So and if Tony had sold his car, he wouldn't promise to buy you new shoes after he gets paid. So yes, while so from what we can infer here, that it is that Tony's car is rather old. If it's cheaper than a taxi driver's salary when he works for a company, given that he works for a company where he receives a steady salary plus the tips. If if we live in a country where we tip our taxi drivers, I think everyone does that now. But and since Tony uses his own car, he drives people around for money, and also gets tips, but the tips are just for day-to-day living, and the salary is enough to and from what we can infer from the sentence is that the salary is enough to buy his girlfriend Tony for is enough for Tony to buy his girlfriend new shoes. And There we have it. We have an we have an unlikely past situation. We have a past situation which was negated by. Okay, never mind. Scratch the Joan example. Ignore it. Ignore the Joan example. Ignore everything. Ignore the Joan example. Ignore it, please. But anyway, if I had not come and if Tony had sold his car are proper examples, and I hope I can fix my mistake and I can fix my wrong ways tomorrow with tomorrow's video. Sorry for my tiredness. It's 4 a.m. where I am right now. With all that being said, thank you for your attention and see you next time.